Welcome to another episode of Pilots Say What, where we get to hear what pilots have to say. And today we'll be talking with Casey. My name is Zach. I'm the host from week to week here on this podcast. If you're a returning viewer, then welcome back. Otherwise, if you're new and you enjoy this episode, like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps us find more people who enjoy this podcast. Today we'll get into, a lot of the typical things of why someone likes to fly and what got them started in the first place. But I'll be interested in hearing Casey's story specifically. So before we get too into things, would you mind introducing yourself briefly for us?
Sure. I'm Casey Talbot. I'm a CFI at Thrust Flight. I just got hired back in mid-September of last year.
Okay, congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, I hear that getting a CFI job can be a little daunting
It
sometimes.
seems to be pretty tough lately.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. Well, you got a good spot here at Thrust, it sounds like. How's that been
I
going
agree.
so far?
I love it.
Yeah?
It's been great. Yeah.
Did you know that being a CFI was going to be a part of the journey when you first started?
I feel like I found it out as I got closer to really committing to it. But I love teaching. I actually volunteer. My coach my daughter's softball team too. So
Awesome.
It's kind of like a coaching and teaching at the same time. So
Yeah, you sort of kind of get the same. It's kind of a similar approach, I guess,
Yeah.
being able to teach someone something. A lot of people never do that though. I've never done that kind of thing before, so I always like to ask that question because learning to teach someone and communicate and being responsible for giving information is kind of a new experience for a lot of people.
Definitely.
But it sounds like something you're enjoying.
I do. I
Yeah.
love it.
So before, I guess I want to give people a little bit more context about you.
Mhm.
So I'll ask you some questions about you. This is a really broad question. If what would maybe friends or family say to describe you, or maybe like what's something to know about you? Yeah.
Something to describe me.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, I guess probably I'm one of the guys.
Mm-hmm.
I'm always been easygoing.
Mhm.
Growing up, I guess I just always kind of more of a tom girl, if
Mhm.
you will.
Yeah.
Love playing sports, being outside, getting dirty.
Yeah.
I like fast cars, and I don't know. I seem to always just get along good
Yeah.
with the guys.
Makes sense. Well, I mean, a lot of guys like fast cars and getting dirty, so that makes sense. Yeah. Well, then that makes me want to go back and zoom out a little bit. Is there a time when you first remember like being interested in aviation at all?
Well, I grew up in Flower Mound,
Mhm.
so lived basically right by the airport in DFW.
Mhm.
So really always just watching the planes come in, landing, taking off.
Mm-hmm.
Grew up with a lot of friends whose dads were pilots and stuff, but never really considered it for myself.
Right.
Until I guess really out of college.
Yeah. Did you finish college, or was it like were you in the middle of college and
Oh,
started
no.
thinking, I want to maybe do something else?
I'm actually going to be 36 in
Okay.
March, so I'm more on the older side. Yeah, no.
Okay.
I finished college, and I actually got hired with Delta as a flight attendant in 2017.
Mm-hmm.
I did that for about 7 years before I
Okay.
was like, I don't see myself doing this forever,
Yeah.
and really started getting more intrigued about flying.
Okay, so you got involved with aviation in another way before deciding
Yeah.
to fly. That makes sense. And you got a good inside scoop, though, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and you're
I-
like, maybe I should move over to that side
Yeah.
of the door.
I love the airline lifestyle. For
Yeah.
sure.
That's awesome. I have one of my best friends from high school. He's been a flight attendant for I don't know how long it's been now, over 10 years probably. But it seems like he's enjoyed himself. But he can see himself kind of doing something a little different
Yeah.
too after a little while.
Yep.
Okay, so let's say you're in high school, and you're thinking about what you want to do next, and it sounds like you decided to go to college.
Yep.
So what did you go to college for? What was kind of the alternative for you at that time?
So I originally went to college to be a marine biologist.
Okay.
And then I made a C in my first biology class.
Okay.
And realized maybe I don't want to do this.
Uh-huh.
I ended up graduating from Texas State, and I did international studies.
Okay.
With just like a business minor, you know,
Yeah. and
something to get it done. if
Exactly.
you will.
I think I went for like business administration at first, and I didn't make it to the end. I just kept working and doing video work, and here I am, I guess.
Yep.
But I liked the idea of working. I didn't really like the idea of being in classrooms. Now
Yep.
I would be a better student these days, I think.
Yeah,
So,
I agree.
yeah.
Like having a little bit of age, and I think it really helped with my dedication and getting through this.
Right, and that's what I wanted to ask. Is there? I mean, you have your own experience in going through college, and time passes, and now you start something like flight training. I'm curious, did you see a difference in your approach to flight training?
I'm still like kind of stuck to my old tactics of like, I know we have like everything online, as far as like we can download all the books and our iPad and stuff. I
Yeah.
still went and bought the paper,
Yeah.
highlighting, taking my notes in my notepad and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I just couldn't like stare at the screen for so long.
Yeah. There's a lot of distractions on a screen.
Yes.
I just turned 31.
Okay.
But I mean, I pretty much grew up on the screens. I guess when we were younger, we didn't all have computers in elementary and junior high and stuff like that. But by the time it was high school, we're all on our phones and stuff,
Yep.
using laptops. But I've gone analog, too. Like I have like 3 journals, and I have one for projects and one for like to dos and one just for writing.
Mm-hmm.
Like I kind of gotten that way too. I like the whole. It feels nice,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Mix it up a little bit.
I guess some people are really good with their iPad, but you have an iPad, right?
Yep.
Because we pretty much use the iPad for so much other things. Can you talk a little bit about the other ways that we use the technology and some of the things you have to do to train and study?
Oh, yeah. So ForeFlight's like the biggest app we really use.
Mm-hmm.
Within that, that's where they have like the Pilot's Handbook of Aeronautical Knowledge, all that stuff. But when we're doing instrument approaches, all those approach plates, departure plates, arrivals, all that information stored within ForeFlight. So when I'm with my instrument students and when I was doing instrument training, that's what we used for all the approach plates. And then commercial, when I'm with my commercial students, I don't ever have my iPad out.
Oh, really?
Because we're back to just looking outside, doing that, the VFR. So just working on maneuvers and landings, and I don't have my iPad out at all for those.
Is ForeFlight pretty standard though? Not just with thrust flight. Would you know, or do you know how like commonly it's actually used for flight training?
Pretty common. I had some retired American pilots who went private, and they're all like, "Have you heard of ForeFlight?" And I was like, "Oh yeah." That's what we use every day at school for sure.
Okay. The reason I ask is because we have a lot of people who listen in and watch who maybe are just getting started, or there's people who like flight sim is a very popular thing that people get into before like Microsoft and things like that. So people kind of start studying before they ever get started, just because of you're purely interested. And so that's a resource for anyone who's listening. Is there anything else like that you think people find really useful? I think like Sporties was good for. Is Sporties for private?
That's what we used, for the private written, but they do have other ground courses available too. We mainly just use Sporties at first for like the written test,
right?
But they do have like an actual full blown ground course with videos and lessons and quizzes and stuff too.
Okay, makes sense. And we've started building something for internally, like a learning management system or something like that. Our team has been a little bit a part of getting some of the video modules put into there. Have you had any? Have you had hands on with that at all yet?
I have logged in for it, but I haven't personally like completed a course yet. But I do think, especially for instrument, it's extremely useful. Like actually getting to see what that flight you're gonna do the next day is, and then that helps you stay ahead of the airplane.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Not just like completely lost when you get in that aircraft. You're like, okay, I know what we're doing. I watched this. I studied.
Well, because a lot of people, when they come into flight training, they've, you maybe had a little bit of a heads up being a flight attendant, which I have more questions about. But a lot of people, they're like, I don't know, it's very interesting. I don't know anything. This is unrelated. I'm changing careers, or I'm coming out of college, or I didn't finish college and I'm young. So I've always admired people's audacity to kind of like start something that seems so grandiose kind of in my mind. Let's zoom back out again, I guess, and go back to when you decided to start flight training. Can you tell me a little bit more about, what was going through your mind before you actually decided to start flight training? What made you want something different?
I'm trying. I crossed my mind pretty early on when I started working with Delta, because they have a program, their Propel program. But at the time, it was like you had to work for Delta for 3 years. You had to have your private pilot's license plus another 100 hours.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, well, I'm working all the time. When am I ever really going to be able to do that?
Right.
And then they kind of switched it up. And then, as that's going on, 3 years in, now I'm getting older and older. And then I was talking to the pilots more and more. And I was like, should I do it this route, go get my private and then apply to Propel. It's like, because it's not a guarantee. It's still an interview process with them. And interview is like once a year type of thing when they do it. And so I was bringing that up to him and I was like, or should I just go for it? And every single one of them said, just go for it. And so I put in my notice and just went for it.
That's pretty cool. And it's nice to have that insight too from them. I think there's like a lot of different kinds of programs out there that are meant to help people do things while they're working. But you mentioned like even just the interview once a year. I mean, there's the finding the time to qualify for an interview, but then there's also the fact that it's like a year cycle to even get things started sometimes, and then that's not even the full scope of things. Well, that's cool. You put in your notice and you wanted to get started. Did you like Google flight schools? Did you ask for opinions on where to go?
Yes, I did. So I live still close to DFW. Okay. Of course, there's a big competitor we have that was kind of close to my house, but my husband does jujitsu, and there's quite a few pilots there who definitely said, do not go to that other place. And so I just kept Googling. I found Thrust and never did a discovery flight or tour. I just committed.
Yeah.
That was probably the easiest sell.
That's crazy. Well, I mean, had you even been in a small single engine prop plane yet?
No. My discovery flight was I just backseated a buddy before I did my first flight. And was like, all right, yep, I made the right choice. We're good.
You didn't even get to do the whole take control of the plane thing, but that's pretty cool. Did you bring up thrust flight to anyone and see what they thought?
Yeah, there was a few people that I knew that had there was, I think, 2 people I found out. I was like, oh, I know them from school and stuff, from where I went to high school.
Right.
And they were here. And I was like, okay, yep.
That's pretty cool.
The rest is for me then.
Yeah, a lot of things point you in this direction then at that point. Did you kind of have to have conversations, maybe like, again, with your husband? You're like, hey, I'm going to change what I'm doing here.
Oh, yeah. So I wanted to do this sooner than what I did. But he also changed careers. In his 30s, he became a firefighter, and so I was like, okay, well, we both can't change careers at the same time.
Transitions.
Somebody needs to be making money while we're doing this, and so he was really more on a strict age limit for applying with Dallas and stuff. So once he was finished training and off probation period, so he could work overtime, that's when I started.
Okay. Do you mind if I ask what he was doing before?
He owned a few gyms. When we lived down in the New Braunfels area. Okay. And then he worked for a friend's family's company, like asphalt company, and then just decided, he was like, all right, yep, I'm not.
Something different.
Yep, I'm ready.
Yeah.
He's always wanted to be a firefighter, and it's kind of like same for him. He should have just done that from the get-go, too.
I really like, and I'm glad I asked that, I guess. It's kind of weird, I guess, I asked about a spouse, but for you, both of you to say, I'm going to do a pretty solid career change in my 30s is and it's kind of like a dream thing for both of you. I think that's really cool, actually.
Yeah.
When you say kind of same thing for him, you both kind of feel like it's what you kind of should have done from the beginning. What do you think stopped either of you? I mean, you don't maybe need to speak for him, I guess, but even for you, what stopped you?
Well, for me, I guess I didn't really consider it an option until later. It wasn't, I guess, I didn't know how to really get into it.
Yeah.
Texas State now
really wasn't on the table.
Yeah. Texas State now has an aviation program, years after I graduated. Otherwise, I probably would have found that earlier. And I guess maybe if I had more family that was within the community, I probably would have discovered it sooner. But for me, it was didn't really come to light until I worked for Delta. So
yeah, it's through a lot of these conversations, even just I'm an example of not thinking of flight training or anything with aviation being really relevant unless you know someone or you've been in the military. And a lot of people think you have to be in the military first too. And maybe at one point it was not as easy as it is now. It's a bit more accessible with schools like Thrust and other Part 141 schools. So that makes sense. It just wasn't really relevant at the time maybe, but it makes sense now. It's kind of interesting to think how it can kind of reveal itself later, I guess. Did you have a vision for yourself at one point that was different than Thrust at this point in your life?
At this point in my life, no. Yeah. I was just kind of riding the wave, I guess.
That's awesome.
Outside of, like, once I was done with high school, I was moving to California and that did not happen.
Yeah.
Government was like, you only get this much money to go there. I was like, oh, that's not going to work.
Switch that up a little bit. I guess I asked that because it's kind of easy to stress about the future if you let yourself. I I don't know. I'm starting to notice, I think, in these conversations that a lot of people who necessarily found a way to not stress too much about the future kind of end up where they want to be.
Yeah.
Somehow. And I don't know. I guess that's an interesting thought process. But you're at a point where you did make that decision, and you talked to pilots, and you said, "I'm going to go ahead and start this flight training thing at Thrust Flight." Coming into this, I mean, did you know much about the actual flying side of things?
Nope.
Yeah.
Not at all.
Because
Nope.
I mean, that had to be intimidating, no?
Yep. It was. Yeah. When I did my first flight, and he's like, "All right, you're doing the takeoff." I was like, "What? Really? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Got it. All right."
Yeah.
It's like, this is just thrown at you all at once, but that's why we like get in the sim at first too. So you're not completely, helpless.
Oh, right.
Like,
That makes sense.
You know the procedure. So.
Right.
But
And how does it? And I've always kind of wanted to ask this. I never have, I guess. You do the sim a bit before, and then you go into plane, and like you said, they're gonna like, hey, you're taking off. How does it translate? Does it translate really well? Like feeling it in the sim versus flying the plane?
I think the feel wise, no, not
Uh-huh.
necessarily. It's a little different. But as far as like procedure wise and like
Okay.
running through the steps of maneuvers and all that,
Right.
and just even like with the G1000, as far as like buttons and whatnot,
Right.
and the way everything looks and is displayed, that is very helpful for sure.
That makes sense. Okay. And this is like all within like the first week or two, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
I think I started sim maybe like 3 days into the ground, if I
Okay.
remember.
Yeah.
Something like that.
I think one of the first videos I made here at Thrust, I was interviewing someone, and she said it was her first week and that she's already taken off and landed a plane.
Yep.
And I was like, and I was still pretty new to aviation myself, so I thought to myself like, that's I mean,
It's
wow, I don't
wild.
know, I have
Yep.
a lot more questions. So here I am. I guess I kind of want to. Did you feel like it was an easy decision when you finally decided to start, though?
No, it was scary.
Yeah, because what was
'Cause-
scary about it? What was
Well,
kind
I
of some
have,
of the things
I
going
have
through
2
your mind?
kids.
Okay.
My daughter's about to be 8. My son's 4. So at the time, my son was still pretty. Let's see what year was it? He's about 2.5,
Uh-huh.
and so I knew that was going to be tough.
Yeah.
Having 2 young kids and then firefighter husband, so his 48-hour or 24-hour shifts.
Even harder, yeah.
So knew it was going to be a big juggle.
Right.
And then also just leaving Delta too, like actually putting in that notice and
'Cause once
everything.
you do it, yeah.
So I actually wasn't like officially done with them until November
Okay.
of 24.
Okay.
And so I'd started training March of 24.
Uh-huh.
I was just had enough, I guess, seniority under my belt at the time. I just used all my vacation for April. So, okay, didn't have to worry about that. And then all my trips for the summer, I just had really good trips and they all just kept getting picked up.
Mm-hmm.
And then it came to a time when I had to like call in once and then I was probably going to have to do it again. And so I just called my manager and he's like, I just need a 2 weeks notice from you. You leave on good terms and good luck.
Worked out. Well, that was
Yep.
a good. That makes it a lot. I mean, I would imagine that eases a lot of the difficulty of quitting, because I think that's what I find the scariest, to kind of like put the nail in the coffin somewhere else and then start something that's not finished.
Yep.
That's kind of scary. But even then, like you said, I mean, 2 kids, and firefighter husband. What were some of the other difficulties that? What fears did you kind of have? Did you have any?
Failure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. What do you imagine that would have looked like, though? I guess, like, what does that mean?
I don't know. So like I think the thought of failure was like a good thing, if you will.
Uh-huh.
I didn't want to fail, so it really kept me really
Right.
motivated. But I mean, at the same time, failure within flight training is necessary. You really learn from it, you
Right.
know?
Makes sense.
So that just kept me motivated. I was like, I've invested this amount of money. I quit Delta.
Yeah.
There's, success is really the only end goal here.
I feel like the failure that's really scary is to think that like there's so many little failures that it's like an ultimate failure.
Mhm.
Like what if I like am too scared or can't actually fly the plane well? Like, what if I don't develop the skills, or what if I'm overwhelmed by the information? Like, my brain goes a lot of those places. But like you said, once you realize that the little failures are actually necessary, it makes them not seem so.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like they're gonna build up so fast, I guess.
Yeah.
Have you had some failures that you've had to overcome so far in flight training?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, what did that kind of look like, if you don't mind me asking?
I felt like private took me a little longer than I
Mm-hmm.
really wanted it to. They told us like from day one, don't compare yourself to others and how you're
Right.
progressing, but it's really hard not
Yeah.
to. And then when I got to commercial, I was like back. I just absolutely loved it.
Okay.
Loved my instructor. And that's how I not flew through it, if you will.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then
Flew
I
through,
guess
that's
kind
good.
of caught back up with, my buddies and stuff.
Landed in
And
the right place.
yeah. But I had no EOC failures or check ride pass or failures until my multi-engine.
Oh,
I
really?
did have one. So definitely learned from that.
Okay. People do fail EOCs and check rides. Like, I think a lot of people have shared that they've struggled with their private just because of the nerves.
Being
And
your first one.
yeah, I can only imagine how that really
Yep.
feels. The comparing thing. I feel like, and we're very community based, right? Like, there's a
Yep.
lot of group studying. People move at different paces, even if you start in the same class.
Yep.
What would you say to someone who I mean, I don't know, maybe you can share your experience with it if you have any. If not, maybe what would you say to someone who finds themselves thinking, I'm not moving as fast as I should, and maybe they're being informed by they're seeing other people moving fast?
I'd say just use it as motivation.
Yeah.
Like if you feel like you're not progressing as fast as you would like to, that probably just means you need to put in some more work.
Yeah.
Some more ground study. That's usually what gets most people is the ground.
What if their response is like, "Oh, I'm already trying so hard."
Then you may need a new tactic, a new
Okay.
approach,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
Never hurts to get some other insight.
Yeah.
Whether that be asking your instructor, hey, can I have someone else look at me?
Yeah.
Kind of go over things with me. I did in private. I did that for my landings a few times. Just went up with a few different instructors, and then one day something clicked.
I think that I've heard a lot of people also say something about they started asking more questions.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a big question asker, so that part comes a little more natural to me. But I think maybe it's easy to get in your head and not ask people. I don't know. How does that work? If you're struggling with something, what have you done to kind of overcome some of those things? Like you said, you went up with a different instructor. How did that help?
I still to this day couldn't tell you exactly what he said.
Yeah.
I don't feel like he really said anything that differently than my like normal instructor or any other instructor I'd gone up with, but whatever it was that day, it worked. And everybody's got different learning styles and stuff too, so I think that's like asking if you realize, hey, or even backseating.
Yeah.
Someone else with their instructor realizing, hey, I really like the way this guy explained that. I think backseating for sure is extremely helpful.
And now we're doing a lot of that too, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Especially instrument.
Especially
then you're not having to worry about flying. Then you can just really focus on the procedural aspect of everything.
Right. What do they say? The cockpit is a terrible classroom or something like that. Do you do any like chair flying?
I did. I waited more until commercial. I
Okay.
probably should have done it more in private than what I did.
Why do you say that?
Because I think just flow wise, like because it is learning all the maneuvers.
Yeah.
At first, and all right, what setting airspeed? What am I doing here? The chair flying with that will definitely really help, and learning all your new emergency flows.
Yeah, I feel like that probably feels weird at first, the chair flying thing.
It is. I felt silly.
Yeah, that's what I would, because I could see myself not getting over the hump, not even entertaining the idea of it at first. I mean, you felt that way?
Yeah, I did at first. I had the poster of the G1000 in front of the plane, everything next to my bed, and I put a chair next to it. And then my kids started getting into it, and they put on my headset and sit there. I was like, okay, this is actually really fun now. I like it.
You're right. That makes it a little easier. That's nice.
That was fun.
What kind of I don't know. I'm thinking back to when I didn't have very good study habits and I didn't understand how to apply myself to something that I didn't really. I could only apply myself to things that I was just very interested in.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that carries a lot of people very far in aviation. It's kind of easy to be interested in,
Yep.
but you have to go as far to like pretend to fly in a chair with a poster on the wall. You know what I mean? So I'm wondering, like, you kind of got to that point in commercial a little bit.
hmm
Was there something that kind of motivated you to kind of like, hey, I need to really lock in right now?
I was just really enjoying commercial, and I just really like wanted to excel and get better.
Hmm.
And I knew chair flying was one thing I'd kind of pushed to the back burner for private and stuff, and I was like,
Yeah,
let me new approach here. Let me actually do this.
exactly.
Try not to feel silly.
Yeah, I guess at some point, what is it? You kind of start to think of like, what have I not tried yet,
Yep.
kind of thing. Yeah, I always wonder about that. You have to kind of get to a thought process of what I've like, what's an opportunity to get better here.
Yep.
How's it been though? Full time training. I mean, you're not at this point. You're not employed anymore, right? With Delta,
hmm
so is that a change for you? Going full time on something that's not necessarily work.
It was weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. When it was me not bringing in any income for like a year and a half.
Yeah.
And then, so that was my job was school,
Right.
you know, and the
Right.
kids still, mom, of
Of
course.
course. Yeah.
But, yeah, it was weird because I had worked since high school. It was like my first time really without a job, especially in adulthood. And I was like, this is crazy.
Hmm.
But a big investment. And so, yeah, school was
Yeah.
my job.
It's kind of like a shift in identity, probably a
Yeah.
little bit. And I'm that way. I remember quarantine was like I've worked so much like my whole life that this is and I mean I wasn't quite that old. I guess what was I don't know my later 20s, but it just was so uncomfortable, and I
Yep.
felt almost like lost a sense of I don't know value,
Yeah.
sort of. Uh, and so that was something to kind of I wonder if you felt any of those sorts of things.
Yeah. I
Like,
mean, during COVID, my husband was still working.
okay.
My mom still working full
Uh-huh.
time. She grocery stores, so that never shut down.
Wow.
Husband's job, of course, never shut down. And then
Uh-huh.
even the airlines, even though they slowed down, I still was working too. So like
Yeah.
we didn't really feel that like
Hmm.
I guess not neglect, but lonesomeness
Yeah, it
of
was
being stuck
strange.
at home, you know.
I started taking walks for no reason. It was
Yeah.
crazy.
But full time student at Thrust was awesome. I've made some lifelong friends.
Mhm.
It was just a great experience as a student there for me.
Yeah, and you've I mean it's still kind of a full-time commitment,
Yep.
right? Can you talk a little bit about that? What did it look like from day to day? And I know the days would vary, but I mean I guess if someone was starting their private training at a Part 141 school or something similar to Thrust, kind of what was it like for you going through the day?
The first few weeks were probably the toughest.
Uh-huh.
We had ground school, and then my sim times were pretty late in the beginning.
Right.
But then once I got through that, and then I had more like steady schedule of ground school and then a flight,
Right.
like every day, basically
Yeah.
5 days. And then yeah, you just kind of work yourself into this flow,
Right.
and it seems to ease up a little bit. And then it's like, oh, I got a stage check. All right, study, 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 study. There's some ups and downs
Yeah.
for sure, but and then there'll be times you're dealing with weather, and then it's like, okay, I haven't flown in a few days. This feels weird,
Uh
but
yeah. You just kind of flow with it, and you get into the flow of things.
yeah,
It sounds like I think that sounds like the maybe the largest benefit of a fast paced program. It gives you the opportunity to get into the flow of
yeah.
things. Seems like it's and I think I have an idea of it, but I'll ask you. What is sort of the structure of the like? You mentioned the stage check? There's like there's some training flights. There's some sims, and there's of course like check rides and EOCs. And I'll mention real quick EOCs for those who are listening. An EOC is a check ride, which a check ride is kind of like your exam at the end of a rating, and a rating is kind of like the little section of the certificate you're working on. So an EOC is what a school has when they have examining authority. And examining authority is granted to a school that achieves high enough success rates with their students, and it's granted to them by the FAA. So basically, Thrust Flight can give in-house check rides because we have enough students who train at a high enough proficiency. That was a mouthful. That was like kind of a word salad. But just know that an EOC is a check ride, which is kind of like an exam. But my question to you is like, what are sort of the steps that go through a rating? If that's a clear enough question.
Yeah, I mean, you start out at thrust. You start with private, then you do instrument, then you move on to commercial, and then after commercial, CFI, where you have a 2-week CFI academy.
Okay.
And then after CFI is CFII, where you just get your instrument rating added on, and then multi-engine after that. And then within each rating, so private instrument, you have stage checks,
right,
and every one of them, and it's just to ensure you're basically excelling and at the point where you need to be, before you get sent off for that check ride or EOC.
Right. And then is there any sort of thing that kind of says, hey, I think I'm ready for this check ride or EOC? Is there a step there that says, okay, like you're endorsed?
Yeah. I mean, by the time you get to like the last stage check and a rating, you basically should already be ready for that EOC or check ride.
Okay.
That like stage 3 and private, stage 3 and instrument. Okay. When we're sending you there, you've met the minimums for everything. And we pretty much already have trust in you, that you're ready for the EOC, but that stage check's there to just really kind of hone it in, because people still get nervous for a stage check. I know I did. Yeah. Even. And so it's kind of just a good, like, pre-test before the big test, if you will.
Right. And I guess that was exactly my question, because it's not quite like college. All right, you're not showing up to a class every day and then getting in the books and then going online to fill out a quiz or something like that. Or I don't know what the college experience is fully like these days, but it's not set up quite like that. You're not sticking with the same people through each semester or something like that. So I want to zoom out a little bit. You as a CFI, we haven't talked a whole lot about it yet. What's your favorite part so far about being a CFI? Is there something about it that you enjoy the most?
What do I enjoy the most so far? Let's see here. It's been okay. This has actually been my favorite part, is like getting your new student. My first student was a CFII, but then I had an instrument student, like basically the same time. It was just really cool watching them go from 0 to passing. Yeah. Their EOC or check ride, and it's like, oh, good job! I'm so proud of you.
Right. And you were just there not too long ago, sort of, in a way to like kind of feel that you get to be happy for them.
Yep. Yeah, I still will get on and be like, all right, where's their plane at? What are they doing? All right, how are they doing? Yeah. But awesome. And they'll get back and be like, we just got back. I'm like, I know, I was watching.
Yeah, I could see it in what is it? Or what are you using to see?
FlightAware.
FlightAware. Yeah. Yep. I didn't understand how that worked until I was working here. It's really cool actually to be able to just track everything like that. Yep. Okay, but that's an interesting experience though, to watch someone go from 0 to proficiency, I guess. What does it kind of take to get someone there from your side? Because we kind of know for the student, you really have to lock in, right? But from the CFI side, there's you really kind of have to take a second to understand the student, right?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. So I guess my question would be, can you tell me about maybe a time of when you really had to come to understand a student and maybe figure out how to get them there? I guess that's kind of a broad question.
If I ever feel like somebody might be struggling, for one, I ask if what I'm saying is making sense to them, or if I could explain it in a different way. And then I also just suggest them backseating with other people too, and seeing if they learn something new. And then I ask them, all right, what did they say about that like made you understand it more or better? Because I'm still learning too, Absolutely. But yeah, you definitely get students, they all learn differently. So definitely just learning new tactics, and I guess even like versions of how to explain things.
Yeah.
Could say it this way, it may click immediately for one student, and then I say it that way for another student, and it's like, wait, what? So yeah.
And in those moments, if you've had any of those moments, like you said, you kind of just you ask them a couple questions in return, like, hey, does this make sense? Has there been any moments where you've like discovered a new way? Like, what was one of the more recent things you're like, oh, this worked for a student, and I had never tried that before? Is there anything you could think of?
I feel like a big thing in instrument is like when we're doing holds, we usually try and teach those in the sim first versus the aircraft, because it's really hard explaining everything about it.
Exactly.
But yeah, no, not like a major thing that really comes to mind.
I got you. Understood. So I got you. I just like to ask because it seems like a difficult task to kind of teach someone how to fly a plane and understand all the things. Outside of the maneuvers and the flows and you know, some of the plane stuff, what are some of the other things you're having to teach people? And I ask that because I think people who are considering flight training, or maybe people who are just interested in aviation, it's interesting to talk about all the other aspects that go into flying. And so, what are some of the other things that you have to kind of go over with people?
I mean, like as far as like ground stuff?
Yeah, like ground stuff, I guess. Because I know there's like a lot of aptitude things, like around maybe even weather or I don't know, the systems.
Oh yeah.
What are some of the things that people are gonna have to go over that you are kind of getting the touch base on?
So each rating you get a ground school. But then on top of that, before your stage checks, you get to do ground sessions with your instructor.
Okay.
And so we usually just, within those more one-on-one ground sessions, we just really try and focus on what they may be like lacking in or what they feel weak in.
Right.
And just really try and focus in on that. I really try and give them, without just sitting there and, you know, talking their ear off the whole time, I really try and give them the references and the tools for them to also go back in and look at and research more themselves. That's kind of what I did. If I felt like I didn't know enough about something, I would just, all right, let me go find it, read about it, take my notes.
And then, I feel like that's I feel like a lot of times I was given a lot of information, but I didn't know how to find it myself. And in the moment, I'm like, I get nervous with certain things. And so I guess I wouldn't retain what I was being told, and I didn't know how to find it later. So that makes a lot of sense. We started up study halls, right? So what are some ways that students that you've, instructed them my question is, what are some ways that you've been able to instruct students to find information on their own and study on their own?
So big one, especially like for instrument, so much procedural stuff. Literally, I swear the whole back of the AIM is in reference to instrument flying. And then, I mean, within ForeFlight, like we talked about earlier, all the different handbooks. But with there being so many different handbooks, a lot of times it's like, okay, which one is this in? To find. And then as far as advisory circulars go, usually just kind of Googling what you're looking for, I guess, and then trying to see if there's an advisory circular submitted by the FAA on it. And then I usually, when I find all that stuff, just save it into ForeFlight in a little binder, and then I just share documents galore with my students.
An advisory circular, what is that exactly?
So it can be submitted really for anything. There's a bunch over weather. There's like one little specific one, even like for instrument. Some minimum equipment you need is a clock. And everyone's like, okay, well, it's a clock showing hours, minutes, seconds. So it's like, okay, well, does that clock, can that just be like taped to your aircraft, or can it, just hang your watch up? It's like, no, there was an advisory circular, submit it, that it has to be like part of the aircraft.
Okay, gotcha.
And literally so many things.
So there's just but basically that it sounds like to me that if you can find an advisory circular around something you're trying to understand, it's great for comprehension. Or
clarification, even, because there's a lot of gray area stuff, and that like, for instance, that clock thing is kind of a gray area for some people, I guess, and so it's submit an advisory circular.
They're like, what? How do I have a clock, and where do I do with it? Yeah, gotcha. That makes sense. And an Apple Watch is helpful, I'm sure, in that scenario, maybe. Or is that allowed? Like watches, right? Like you can wear watches, but like, do you guys
it's like the aircraft itself
needs to have? Okay,
like,
that's
installed. Yeah.
I didn't know. Yeah, there we go. I didn't know. Okay, I hadn't heard of the advisory circular thing, which I'm a big researcher. So someone would just Google advisory circular and then
if you go like on the FAA website, and they have like their own tab for advisory circulars. Okay. They even like will cancel one and replace it with a new one. So you just kind of can go through and look and see which one's actually the one that's in use right now.
That makes sense. Okay, so again, we'll zoom out a little bit more. I just like, to recap, because you started flight training later when you've already had a bit of a career. You did college and you went into your career, and then you said, I'm going to try something different. And this is after your husband also tried something different. And it's kind of like a dream come true that you didn't really know, it sounds like. Yeah. And you've gotten to this point to where you're still like, you're in your CFI phase, and you're still kind of learning things. You said that too, because you're always learning, I guess, in aviation. I guess what I want to ask about is there sort of something that kind of kept you driven? I say that because you didn't really have to, change up your career or anything like that. And also flight training can be pretty difficult and expensive. And I mean, you didn't necessarily have to do that. Is there something that kind of keeps you driven? Yeah.
And just, I guess, reaching my full potential. Yeah. Did I see myself, serving Cokes and stuff? Obviously, that's not what flight attendants are all about, but is that what we do most of the time? Yes. Right. I was like, I don't see myself getting to retirement age and still doing this, and then trying to go out and find a career, later in life. But just really getting the full potential out of myself, doing something more challenging, but also more rewarding at the same time.
Do you feel like the fact that it is kind of challenging is what makes it a little bit more rewarding?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, because I find myself feeling that way too. I want to discover and reach more potential within myself, and it always seems like it's just the fact that it's something that's challenging, and overcoming a challenge is kind of that. I guess what would it mean to reach more potential at this point?
I guess honestly, just like personally, it's setting an example for my kids. Like, my daughter will get home sometimes. She'll be like, I don't want to do homework. I'm like, well, I have a test tomorrow too. Come on, let's go do our homework together. Right. And then just, really showing her, you dedicate yourself to something. You work hard, will pay off. Right. So
that makes sense. And have you ever been in a situation where you found yourself not motivated about something? And like, if so, what did you kind of do about that? I guess, because that's a tricky place to be in, because I find myself to be pretty driven, but when I lack motivation, it kind of confuses me a little bit. So I guess I'm asking that question. That's kind of a deep question, I guess. That was a little tough. But
I will say the instrument rating for me was not my favorite. Okay. I love instrument now. But when I was going through training, I was like, my flights were at 4 a.m. My son was still waking up in the middle of the night quite a few times. I think a mix of early mornings, and then just at one point just being like, what? I'm lost. I kind of started lacking the motivation too. And then one day I just had to basically slap myself and be like, suck it up. Yep. And get through this.
And what did that kind of look like? Because I have an idea too in my mind, but when that moment happens, you're like, you know what? Like, I'm gonna get in there and take care of it and kind of get back in the motion of things. What is the difference between when you were kind of feeling like, what is the behavior difference, kind of?
Oh gosh.
I know this is really, but because I imagine it's because you said kind of getting a little lost. I feel like it's there. Okay, first let's get unlost, right?
Right.
Let's get clear about what it is I need to get done and where I'm at. Was there a bit of that?
Yeah, I think that's probably more of when I had to organize a thing for myself of all right, rather than trying to study everything every day, it was pick apart the different subjects and focus on a different subject, and then kind of, do that for a week and then start going back through everything. All right, I understand this now. Not so much this. All right, let me focus on this now.
Okay.
Kind of just doing that. And then that's when I started backseating more people too, even just so I could just focus on what they were doing and I didn't have to worry about, flying at the time. And then that started helping.
Yeah.
It's like once the things started clicking, I was like, all right, I got this. I don't know why I was all mopey or, not motivated for a little bit, but
although it's hard, for the record, I mean, it's not like it's a hard thing that you're doing. I guess what I take out of that, and tell me if I'm like taking it right, but would you say that breaking things down, kind of you found a good way to break things down for yourself, to kind of stay maybe clear about what you're doing? Yeah. I've been working on that myself, so that's why I asked that. I guess it's a selfish question.
Yeah.
Would you say that would be helpful? Would you maybe even suggest that to someone who's like finding themselves in that situation?
Yeah. If you're like studying everything all at once every day, and you're just like, I still don't know what I'm learning, then you need to condense it down and just pick apart the little pieces and focus on those. Yeah. And then make the big picture for everything.
Right. And I guess we've been talking for a little bit, so I mean we've covered a lot of things. So I'll still ask this question. It's a fast-paced program, and I can imagine there's a lot of pressure, and maybe some of it's self-imposed, maybe not. I don't know. So my question is, what do you kind of do when you feel like there's a time pressure on you, and is there a time pressure on you?
I mean, your check ride, you could either be, depending on availability and weather and stuff, you could be waiting a month. You could be waiting 2 days. Yeah. So it's really just, I guess, always just staying prepared.
Right.
Really. Not being like, oh, the wait's going to be 4 weeks. And then, you just kind of lax on things. And they're like, hey, actually, got a spot for you tomorrow. You want it? So if you're always ready, the answer to that can be yes.
Right.
Rather than no.
Right.
Which is good.
Yeah.
So.
And it sounds like, I guess, alternatively, like if you feel like things are moving fast, at the end of the day, I mean, the only goal is to be ready, I guess, right? Yep. Not to like, you don't want to fly when you're not ready. So I mean, that's all you should focus on, I guess. It sounds like I've heard that from some of the CFIs too. Well, I don't know if there's. I mean, I guess I'll ask you for just a few pieces of advice here. If you've made it here in the podcast, we've been talking for a little while. I'm assuming that you're enjoying this. So like, comment, subscribe. It helps us out a little bit. I think I was looking at our stats on the back end, and a small percentage, something like maybe 4% of our regular listeners, people who listen regularly, only 4% are actually subscribed. So, I mean, if you've watched a couple of our episodes or even just this full episode, I mean, it's a pretty good sign. You should subscribe. Again, it helps people who are really interested in doing something different with what they're already doing in their lives kind of find this. And that's really our goal here is to share aviation with more people. I'm not a pilot, but I get to talk to a lot of pilots and help them do that. So I'll ask you, if someone's interested in aviation, maybe they haven't even, maybe they're interested in aviation and they haven't taken any steps to maybe participating in it. Would you have any advice for this person?
Yeah, I would say I've actually had a lot of friends reach out to me recently after they saw me going through my training. And it's usually the biggest thing for everyone is just really just taking that leap and committing to it. Not everyone can do the fast pace part 141. You can do part 61. I would definitely suggest a discovery flight. One of the rare ones I feel like who just said, we're good. I'm going for it.
You know who else said that? Actually, it was Jessica Dvorak. She said she just signed up.
Yep.
I was like, who does that?
That's my girl. Yep.
Yeah. So she said that on one of the podcast episodes. But anyways, yes, a discovery flight.
Yeah. If you're maybe a little scared or nervous about it, definitely recommend discovery flight. But otherwise, if you're like, nope, this is what I want to do, just go for it.
Right. And I guess for the people who don't know, I've heard a lot of people say this, for the people who don't know that this is, I want to do, and they're just scared to pull the trigger, taking that discovery flight can help you decide.
For sure.
I think that's another benefit outside of the being nervous part.
Yep.
People were like, after that, it was, I signed up the next week, you know. I should probably make a compilation from the podcast of how many people have said that.
Yep.
A discovery flight, if you don't know, is something you can. It's like a test drive, and it's not just a plane ride. Typically, you're gonna get the opportunity to put your feet on the rudders and your hand on the yoke, and you'll get to kind of feel what the controls do. And I think that's kind of the clicking moment. I took a couple plane rides before I ever touched the controls, and I can say that was a much different
Yep,
experience. I mean,
absolutely.
it was pretty like, I mean, it was pretty exciting, I guess,
Yep.
for lack of a better word. Um, yeah. So if let's say that someone stumbled upon, I don't know, for the rare chance that someone stumbled upon this podcast or this clip on social media, and they've never even considered it, like they didn't know that you could do this without going to the military, and it's just really interesting right now. What would you say to someone like that, and they're thinking, maybe I should look into this? How would they look into it?
Well, you're gonna look up thrust flight, of
Okay.
course, first, right?
Yeah. Exactly. And if there's not a thrust
Go.
flight near you, just a air what's the word? Flight school near me.
Yep.
Yeah.
And go tour it and just see what the school's about.
Yeah.
Thrust for me was because I know I looked on their Instagram and everything.
Mhm.
Community was a big thing for me.
Okay.
So yeah, that's what I would look up. Find the place that you think you'd fit in, if
Yeah.
you will. Because with flight training, I think having the group aspect of studying and stuff,
Yeah.
extremely important.
Right.
I mean, I would study at home on my own, but
Mhm.
I feel like I always got way more out with being part of a group, and
Being able to have
even just
conversation.
one other student just studying together was always extremely helpful.
That makes sense. Because we have a lot of people who change careers, and they do come across some of these videos, and they're like, I just never thought of that, and it does pique their interest, but it's a big decision, and like one video clip or something, it's interesting how much it can pique your interest, but for something that's such a big decision, it's not enough to necessarily push the envelope. Maybe not for everyone. Some people,
Yeah.
sure. So I will say that we have our YouTube channel and our Instagram, and we share as much educational content as we can, with the hopes, of course, we want more students at our school, right? But the idea is to spread what aviation looks like on the inside, especially in the flight training phase. And this is just a portion of the journey that you'd be beginning. So I guess those are some of my main pieces of advice. I don't know if there's any other things you would like people to know, maybe someone who's in flight training, anything you'd like to share at all before we wrap up here.
I guess I would just say, as a female,
Mhm.
2 kids at home, started this when they were still young. If I can do it, you can do it. Because it's a lot of work. I was very tired at times,
Uh-huh.
yes, but so rewarding, and I'm so happy I did
Yeah, I have to say that is amazing. I mean, I think of excuses for things I want to do all the time,
it.
and I don't have 2 kids, and my bills. I mean, I'm responsible for a lot, but I don't have 2 kids, so that already is kind of interesting. And then I think being a woman, you're typically the minority in the population,
Mhm.
and that comes with its own experience. So thank you for joining us on the podcast, Casey,
Thanks for having me.
and speaking with me and sharing your experience so far. If you guys are listening, thank you for listening. My name is Zach. We host this podcast, Pilots Say What, where we get to hear what pilots have to say every week here on YouTube and on all listening platforms, including Apple Music and Spotify. And we'll see you guys next week. Thank you.